So a couple weeks back, one of y'all actually reached out to me and asked me a question about something that I actually didn't own. It was the GameCube adapter that is used a lot for Smash Brothers. He asked it about the OEM part and potentially the Mayflash adapter. I didn't have either of those, and looking around for the original one online, they're a little difficult to find, but when you can find them, they're a little more expensive than they should be. So I went and I picked up the Mayflash one, and I wanted to answer his question in a video, but I also wanted to just talk about this thing in general because I feel like there's some good use cases here, and there's some interesting stuff that I had thoughts about with it after I got it in my hands. So let's talk about that. I want to bring you all over to the table. We'll talk about the build of the thing a little bit, and then we'll get it plugged in and see what it can do. All right, so come on and let's do it. All right, let's talk. Now, I would have done an unboxing of this thing, but it literally was just this in a in a cardboard box. There was a little instruction booklet with it, but let's be real, it's a USB port, and controller ports, you don't need instructions. The only important thing to note is that you have a switch here on the back to put it into Wii U Nintendo Switch mode or to put it into PC mode. That's really all you need to know or care about. I don't have a means to compare it to an OEM part because I don't have one, but I can say that this does feel very solid. Like, it has this little bit of heft to it that might be mostly the cable, because this is a very thick boy cable, but the plastic here feels very solid. There's very little give to it when you squeeze it, and twisting it, there's no real shift. So I don't think the construction of this is ever going to be an issue for anybody, which is good, because even though it's fairly cheap, you wouldn't want your money to go to just garbage, you know? If I have to ding it on something, it's the grip in the controller ports. So on a GameCube, whenever you plug something in, it feels like it actually has something that like maybe slides into these little slots here, and you can feel something set whenever you push it in, and it kind of grabs it and keeps it from just slipping out. This doesn't have that, so this just is a bit more of a friction fit to hold it in. But having said that, like, it's not coming out, and you're not going to be doing this while you're playing. So even if this weren't great, it's not going to slip out. Like, honestly, the situation where I could see this being the best is actually if you were to like mount it to the underside of your desk. Mount this on the underside, plug this into the back of your PC, and then your desk now has controller ports, and I think that that's actually really cool. Like I mentioned, it has a very robust cable here, which is about 4 feet long, I think. It's definitely more than 3, so I think it's about 4. With 2 USB ports on the end. Now, for the longest time, I've always known that these adapters come with 2 USB ports, but I didn't really know what they were for. I figured one was for ports 1 and 2, and this other one was for ports 3 and 4. But that's actually not the case. The black one here is the data connection, and you'll need this plug to actually use the ports. This gray one is a power connection to supply power to the rumble motors. If you don't want to use the rumble capabilities of your controllers, you don't need that cable. You just need this one here. I have read that you need an additional driver if you want rumble on your PC, but that's not hard to get. The other thing this USB cable for is for updating the firmware, the black one, not the gray one. Luckily, this guy does come with the most recent firmware already on it. It's version 10, I think, just in case you have an older one, or in the future when they come out with new firmware updates for it, you'll be able to update it, which hopefully they do, because this thing does have a problem that we'll get into in a little bit. But yeah, let's go update the firmware, and then we'll get this guy plugged into the Switch and see how it works. Now, unfortunately, the only way that you can actually update the firmware is on Windows, which is slightly annoying as I'm a Mac user, but you might be able to do this within a virtual machine. But I have a Windows PC here that I can use, so I'm going to just use that. So, and to update the firmware, you're going to need to go to the mayflash.com/support, and in this setup is all the different firmwares. You do have to go into the Windows side to find the firmware. Again, you do have to update this on Windows. And so there's a few different adapters that they sell. GameCube controller 2 ports. We have a 4-port adapter, and so that's the one we got to find. Maybe we just need to go back to firmwares. Okay, here we go. W012. That must be its. Yeah, this guy. W012. That's the 4-port adapter. Then you'll just need to go through and find the most recent one. Like I said before, this is V10. And you'll download it. And then once it's done, you'll just go ahead and open it up. Now when you get to this screen, and then it says it right there, you're gonna make sure the device is in PC mode, and you're gonna take the black plug and plug it into your computer. After you get it plugged in, the update firmware option button will light up, and you can press it. And it will, right now, currently, it will tell you that it doesn't need to update, but that is how you update the firmware. I'm gonna ask that y'all please excuse the mess that I have here. I haven't really straightened up my desk in a little while. But we have our switch here. It is on, as you can see, and we're gonna get this guy plugged in. Now again, if you don't care about the rumble functionality of the controller, it doesn't matter it doesn't matter if you plug the gray one in or not, but I'm gonna plug it in just for the sake of it. All right, there we go. We have us a GameCube controller here. It's very dirty and the cable is very stiff. So let's just get this guy plugged in. Make sure it's in switch mode. Okay, so I did. I don't know if you can, you probably can't hear it, but the vibration does kick on. I can feel it. Here we go. And then we've got, so the only negative of doing something like this is you lose your stick clicks, and then you lose the L button. Well, you lose the ZL button. It's actually backwards, like L and R are here, and then the ZR button is this one. So on a normal Pro controller, you've got R and ZR. On this one, you've got R and ZR. Which is fine for the few games that you're going to want this kind of thing for. Now, I know a lot of people are going to want something like this for Super Smash Bros., but for me, I like to use modern controllers with modern games, and so for something like Smash Ultimate, I've always felt like it's kind of designed around the Switch Pro controller and not the GameCube controller. While the GameCube controller will work just fine, it just feels better to me with a Switch Pro controller. However, a game to me that needs the GameCube controller, and solely, if anything, solely because of the analog triggers, is Super Mario Sunshine. So that's what I want to make sure works with this guy. We are in the game, and that's good. Like, it feels exactly as I would expect it to. But the big question is, does the analog area work? Good. But now, excellent. This is my big issue with some other controller adapters, especially when you're doing something like trying to hook into the GameCube. It, for whatever reason, didn't let you have the two separate things, like the analog area and the button click at the bottom. It only treated it as one or the other. But luckily, this adapter accounts for the fact that you have an analog section of a button and then the actual button click at the bottom, and that is fantastic. Now though, we're gonna actually answer Dane's question. He asked in his email if this is used in conjunction with the 8BitDo Bluetooth adapter and the GameCube controller mod kit. Will the analog buttons still work? And I would assume so, but let's make sure. So we're gonna plug this guy in. We've got our light on. Let's turn our controller on. They find each other basically immediately. The analog section works. And the button click at the bottom works. So, good. So Dane, it does work. You're good to go. Now, hopefully, with the Switch 2 coming out soon, and them already announcing GameCube games for Switch 2, hopefully something like this will work. I would assume it would. I think they've already confirmed that the OEM one will work, so hopefully something like the Mayflash here will work as well. But I'm not done, because when Dane and I were discussing this thing over email, I had the thought, is this a workaround way to play Switch games with the DualSense controller? And I'm like 90% sure it is. So let's do this. Let's get this guy into pairing mode. Good, they found each other. Excellent. There's no home button, which is not surprising, but and so if you already have some of these parts, you can use this as a means to play Switch with the DualSense, which to me is very funny and almost feels illegal. The only downside is there's no home button. There is one thing to note. I know a lot of people are probably going to buy this thing to use it with Dolphin. And I have to assume that works because I can't get it to work in Dolphin on my Mac. Every time I try, Dolphin crashes. And that's exclusively with the Mayflash thing plugged in. If I unplug it and try to load up Dolphin, it loads just fine. I don't know why, but this Mayflash adapter causes Dolphin to crash. I believe this is just a Mac OS issue, not a Dolphin issue. It's definitely something wrong with the Mayflash, but it seems to only be an issue on like the new versions of Mac OS. So something to keep in mind if you're running Mac. I have never been able to get Dolphin to work properly on my Windows computer, but given that this is kind of designed around Windows and is being made to work with Mac, it feels like that might be something that Mayflash needs to fix. Or maybe the next Mac OS update will work. It does work with something like OpenEMU. It just doesn't work with Dolphin for some reason on Mac OS. I don't know why, but that's the current case. So yeah, if you're needing a GameCube controller adapter, the Mayflash is a good option for you, especially if you can't find an OEM one. There's no guarantee that Nintendo's going to release another new one with the Switch 2 when Smash Brothers comes out. They might, because they did for the Switch. Like you had the Wii U one and then you had a Switch one, and so Switch 2 they might re-release it, but until we know for sure, the OEM ones are getting more and more expensive, and the Mayflash one is real cheap. I think I paid $17 for this. We'll see how it handles long term, but in the initial stages, I'd say it's worth the money. But that's my opinion. What do you guys think? Have you used this thing before? What are your thoughts on it? Leave it down in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. But I think that's going to be it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked the video, make sure to hit that like button. And if you like what I do here, then hit subscribe, because that does help me out a lot. I want to thank you guys so much for being here. And I look forward to bringing you even more review talk videos just like this one as the days go on. So again, thank you guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a good one, y'all.